Hello everybody, this is Face TV. I'll be checking out 10 best gimmick changes in wrestling history from what culture. Okay, let's go.
We've talked about this before, and you already know deep down in your tum-tum, gimmicks in wrestling are super important. But if you get told you have to be a plumber, you may struggle to main event WrestleMania. But if you get gifted the butt-kicking renegade, yeah, you're on a good path. We have seen some tremendous transformations over the years, though. So let's go through them right now. Number 10, Jay Lethal. Now this actually bucks the trend, because for most people, this would have been the kiss of death. Jay Lethal was going to go from a wrestler's wrestler to pretending he was Randy Savage. You can't sugarcoat that. Even though he was winning Ring of Honor and TNA titles all over the shop, some accused him of lacking in the personality department. So what did he do? This. It was in April 2007, and after Kevin Nash heard Lethal's spot on Macho Man impression, he told Jay to do that on TV, and why don't you even dress like him? It caught on pretty much instantly, to the point Lethal started using Savage's old pomp and circumstance entrance music, and if you need a comparison, this was the opposite effect of what we did with the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon characters. What I mean by that is that it was actually entertaining. It really did give Lethal the extra oomph he needed, and he became crazy popular. So much so, he brought all of it back in 2018 at All In. Go and listen to that reaction. They knew. Number 9, Tony Storm. So I have mentioned this on Ups and Downs, but this is the best gimmick shift of 2023, and maybe in the modern era of professional wrestling. I just never would have called it. It's not like what Toni Storm was doing was bad before all this, because she was one of the most sought-after talents in the world, so nobody called this a total 180, where she believed herself to be a film star from the golden age who also enjoys throwing a shoe. Only in wrestling. It tied into Storm losing her AEW title as well, so a descent into madness was the explanation, and ever since then, it's just got better and better. Tony is basically a super babyface now. That's what happens when you make something as good as this. Storm also doesn't care about being ridiculous, which I'm a huge fan of, and there's no doubt about it for me. The Timeless One is the centerpiece of the women's division. I can't get enough of it. The proof is in the pudding, as they say, which is why she broke all AEW records by becoming a 3-time women's champion, and long may this continue. So good. I don't see why we can't ride this out for ages too. It's got legs. Number 8, Matt Hardy. So this divided opinion, but man, I loved it. I don't know where Matt Hardy came up with this, but one day he decided to go broken and just became the most bonkers character in all of wrestling. Caught the entire industry off guard. Such was the talk, there were even reports of WWE superstars having hourly viewings backstage to watch the final deletion, and it totally gave Matt new steam, and in turn reignited interest in TNA. Couldn't have gone better. Before long, he was also deleting Jeff Hardy, who became Brother Nero, and honestly, it is an iconic run no matter how you spin it. Even the Woken attempt in WWE was alright. It was nowhere near as good, but the gimmick just worked. Hardy in many ways brought back cinematic matches too, and I will always go back and watch these. It rules, and it's everything good about wrestling. As long as everybody agrees, you can do whatever the flub you want. With all these insider references, well, I'm just going to be honest with you, I thought it was damn terrific. Number 7, Batista. Never forget that when Dave Batista debuted in the WWE, it was alongside Devon Dudley, and he was called Deacon. I have no idea. As Devon was a reverend, there was also some weird spiritual context to all this, and it just didn't fit. Batista was massive. No way should he just be a lackey who collected money. Thankfully, it only lasted a few months before Big Dave wrecked this guy, and after a super short feud, Batista went to Raw and switched gears immediately. Soon after that, he was put into Evolution because everybody knew what we had here. That's why 2 years later, he was beating Triple H for the world title at WrestleMania. It also ties into the fact Batista is super underrated these days. He was so much more than just a monster. The dude could go, and the first step to showing that to the world was changing the damn gimmick. Number 6, Sting. This just sums up how great Sting is. There was nothing wrong with Surfer Sting, and many people will tell you that's their favorite version. I get it. When the mid-90s rocked around though, Steve Borden realized he needed to change something to remain in the loop, and yep, he painted his face black and white and became a vigilante. Stories have always credited this to Scott Hall, who told Sting to watch the movie The Crow, and don't tell me this didn't work. What did the man do for a year after he changed? Nothing. Just hang out in the rafters, but it was the coolest thing ever. He was just the best. When he finally attacked the NWO, people lost it, and again, look, he retired in 2024, and this persona was as strong as it ever has been. That is just incredible. While I have to ignore Starrcade 1997, every other single thing he pretty much did with this, well, it was totally fabu. Number 5, Bray Wyatt. The late Wyndham Rotunda is rightfully lauded as one of the most creative minds in wrestling history. Not everything hit, but how on earth he came up with both Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, I'll never know, and the cinematic stuff he did with John Cena, Randy Orton and Braun Strowman were like nothing else. I don't think anybody else could have thought this up. His first rumblings were in 2010 though, as he was Husky Harris, and it was enough to get him to the main roster. He was part of the Nexus that year, although it's safe to say nothing much was going to happen with this. He was basically left in the background. Rather than just stay in this lane, however, Husky had a rethink in 2012 when he returned as a mysterious cult leader. It is where he debuted the Wyatt name and teamed up with Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. Before you knew it, they were the damn NXT Tag Team Champions. This was mostly based on the fact they were so popular and why within 1 year they were on the main roster, these guys were cooked and ready to go. It is fair to say that WWE never really knew what they had, but Bray was always so over. He won multiple titles as well as the WWE Championship. And I tell you, given all of this, I totally believe that if Harris had been given more rope, Wyndham would have figured that out as well. He just got it. While we're all quick to talk about generational in-ring talent, other areas are just as important. If you want to get into the chat about Gimmick's presentation and aura, look no further than this guy. He was one of a kind. Number 4, Kane. I am amazed the real-life Glenn Jacobs was able to hold on. Look at his early gimmicks in the WWF. He was Isaac Yankem, the wrestling dentist, and yes, that name was a pun, and then Fake Diesel. That's right, he had to pretend to be somebody else. This was bad. Through no fault of his own, the rumor was that he was running out of legs when it came to his job. There was this massive man and he was kind of just hanging out playing Nintendo. Begs the question as to why this is what the company chose for him to do, even more so because Isaac originally had been brought in by Jerry Lawler to take out Bret Hart.
Oh, wow.
Why the flub did he hire a dentist? He also just lost all the time before he vanished from TV when somebody in 1997 decided the next step for The Undertaker was a fight with his fake brother. Enter Kane. To say this is one of the best decisions ever made is an understatement, because in one night, no one remembered this other nonsense. The Big Red Machine was over instantly because the whole idea was great. That Bad Blood debut is all time. Even then, it was only planned for a short run, but Kane was so good, he went on to have a 20-plus year career and feuded with the likes of Taker, Steve Austin, Triple H, and anybody who had a name. He even won a world title. In total, he can also lay claim to 19 championships post this switch, and he still has the current record for most total eliminations in the Royal Rumble. So he is an all-timer. I will leave you with this to ponder, though. Would Yankem have had similar success? No, he wouldn't. Number 3, Triple H. This is always a fun one. Even though WWF management were high on one Paul Levesque, when he debuted, he was the Greenwich Blue Blood who hated poor people. The mid-90s were wild when it came to gimmicks. This was in 1995, and everybody had to have a silly personality such as this. Well, to be fair, it's not like he wasn't used. In terms of the roster, he had moderate success with it all. Through solid, constant work, he was able to impress those behind the scenes and eventually wound up with the Intercontinental title. That was a big deal, especially compared to what Hunter had been doing. He slowly but surely then started to change his mannerisms and even began to wear a leather jacket. When he linked up with Shawn Michaels in China, was redubbed Triple H, and that was that. We never looked back. DX was formed and pushed the boundaries of what to expect on WWE TV. When Michaels had to step away due to his back injury, Triple H kept on pushing. When the time was right, he adopted the Game moniker and turned himself into the ultimate badass. Just go and watch his stuff in the year 2000. It is excellent. From there, it was a pathway all the way to the top with a total of 14 world title reigns to boot. I don't care who he married either. If Triple H didn't adopt this switch, I don't think he hits these levels. For a good old while, he was the perfect heel, and not because he was rich and doing a silly bow. Number 2, The Rock. You can go and watch this right now. When Dwayne Johnson debuted as Rocky Maivia in 1996, I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen. Even The Undertaker has said this in a recent podcast. He thought the man may even lose his job. It mostly failed as it was just so on the nose, with Rocky smiling even when he lost. With also his ring gear, there were so many tassels. He was also shoved down the fans' throat because he won the Intercontinental title almost instantly, but his version of Maivia was just too clean-cut. Nobody wanted this at all, so what did we get? Rocky sucks and die Rocky die chants. That was a bit much, but still, it's not like you're going to get confused by it. A knee injury took him out the game for a while, but during that period, the decision was made. When he did return, he was to be a bad guy, and to make that super obvious, he was going to team up with the Nation of Domination. It's not like this was an instant change either, but within a few months, The Rock, as he was now named, was dropping fire promos, coming up with ridiculously wonderful moves like the People's Elbow, and just presenting himself as a megastar. Turned out he was right, because from that moment, he did become the most electrifying man in sports entertainment before leaving WWE to smash Hollywood as well. That's just bonkers, and I tell you, he opened doors that I assume will never be closed again. So he totally changed the game. Number 1, Steve Austin. Always remember that when WWE hired Steve Austin in 1995, they just thought he was a good hand. How ridiculous is that? They knew he could work, hence why he was dubbed the Ringmaster, as he could be a great utility man for others to fight and eventually be beaten by. It's why the $1 Million Man was his manager. Austin doesn't need to talk, just do your thing and leave. So I can't imagine anybody in power had actually seen what he was doing in ECW and WCW, because the hints were all there. It wasn't until 1996 rolled around that he presented the Stone Cold character, where things finally changed around. Even then he needed a spot of luck, but when plans changed and he was selected as the King of the Ring winner, he dropped that 316 promo and started a chain reaction that was going to set wrestling on fire. His feud with The Rock and Vince McMahon soon became etched into history, and the amount of merchandise he sold was hilarious. Not sure that's ever going to happen if you're the master of the ring. If you want to call him the most important part of WWE ever, there is an argument to that, and he was a major reason the Monday Night War switched around. Everybody loved Stone Cold Steve Austin. So yes, when you put all that in a pot, I'm not sure there's anybody else who has made such a wonderful gimmick change. He didn't just shake up his own success, but basically took over the whole industry to boot. What a mad and wild ride.
Yeah, that was 10 best gimmick changes in wrestling history by WrestleMania. Good video by them. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see y'all next video. Peace.